Dennis, you on? I'm on. All right, Aaron, you on?
Yep.
Time is now 7:03. The Cicero Town Council meeting is now in session. If you could all please rise for this saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could please remain standing, Ms. Gary.
Thank you. Would you bow with me? Thank you. Thank you, Father. Thank you so much for this day. Thanks for all these people who are so concerned about our town. Father, I pray you give the council the tools and everything they need to make good decisions for the town of Cicero. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. That's Dan Strong's fault.
Ms. Gary, if you could please take roll.
I can. Joe Cox.
Present.
Eric Hayden.
Present.
Dennis Johnson.
Present.
Jacob Everett.
Present.
Emily Pearson.
Present.
We have a quorum with 5 members present. Moving on to the agenda, does anybody have any additions or revisions to the agenda?
I do, sir. I would like to remove my additional appropriation public hearing and my additional appropriation resolution.
Okay.
So which was she removing, additional appropriation?
Under new business.
So both of those A and B items?
Yeah, it was advertised for town hall, so we'll redo it next time.
Any other revisions?
So I had under miscellaneous, maybe we discussed the town truck restrictions
Oh, okay. You're talking about semis through downtown?
and dump trucks? And I don't know, do we want to do that this time, or do we want to wait?
If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it.
Yep, okay.
All right. Any other revisions to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved, Dennis Johnson.
Second, Emily Pearson.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. Moving along to the approval of the prior minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from the town council staff meeting dated January 15th, 2026, and the town council meeting minutes from January 20th?
So Rhonda sent out an update.
Yep.
For a couple clarifications. I'll make a motion to approve both of those sets of meeting minutes.
Second, Dennis Johnson.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good to go. All right, moving on to the approval of the claims dated 2/3/26. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those claims? Any questions? If not, I will entertain a motion to pay the claims dated 2/3/26.
So moved, Emily Pearson.
Second, Dennis Johnson.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead and pay the bills.
All right, thank you.
Moving, is Keith here? Should I just skip over that for right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on to council committee reports. OTC report,
No report.
EDC report, no report. Mr. Freeman.
Good evening, Council. We have nothing for the stormwater right now. However, we did get 9 bids on our project, and they were given to Keith and to Terry to look over and pick out which one's more responsive and responsible, and I have not heard back from them. So they're still kind of in limbo, or can you update me on that? Did they meet your
So
agreement?
Yeah, go ahead.
They are at town hall.
Okay.
Because it was stated that bids would be dropped off there, so they're giving it a period of time before Terry and Keith come here.
But
That's
that's a
not
different
bids.
topic.
Not my bids.
We're talking about the email that went out today
Oh.
with the bids that were opened by the storm
Oh, okay.
water board last
Okay,
week.
Sorry.
So it's still pending, so we haven't decided on the
Correct.
engineer.
Mr. Bryant sent a rep of his, since he wasn't at the meeting, he sent a rep to pick up those, so they've taken those under advisement, and that's
Okay,
the,
that's just to bring
that's where we are.
that We've received them.
We have.
We've reviewed them.
We did.
Yet to pick the winning bid.
Correct, thank you.
On that, thank you.
Thank you. All righty, legal counsel report, Mr. Cole.
Yes, I had several agreements that have gone out to the council. The first one is the expense reimbursement agreement. That is a agreement that the council asked for last time between the developer, IPA, and the town of Cicero. And in that agreement, as I explained in my email sending it out, IPA has agreed to put $200,000 into an escrow account. The town will then have the ability to expend those funds as it deems appropriate on having experts review the project. And so we would have sole control over dispersing those to make payments to the experts that we're looking at engaging, and those are the agreements that I'll ask you to approve after this one. But if you have any questions or anything, please let me know. If not, then this is ready for approval.
Okay, and just to be very clear, this reimbursement agreement in no way obligates the town to make a decision one way or another regarding this project.
That is correct. It is solely to allow you to investigate the financial, environmental, and safety aspects of this proposal so the council can have its own experts weigh in.
Thank you, Mr. Culp. Do you have, oh, we need, are we going to do them as one or individual?
Individual.
Individual, okay. Let me get to that email real quick.
You're saying work through the agreement and then each of these?
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to approve
We're doing the,
Yes. and
yes,
these?
yes.
the expense reimbursement agreement with IPA for a not to exceed $200,000. That will go into a, what's the account called again?
Escrow.
Escrow.
Account, thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. I was a yay, sorry, I was late.
Good to go there.
All right, the next item is a letter of engagement from Barnes & Thornburg for Adam Sturwald to provide services to the town in connection with reviewing the financial aspects of this and advising the town on the project and the pros and cons.
Does anybody have any questions on that?
No.
Most of it was just disclaimers.
Yeah.
Andrews.
Make a motion to approve Barnes & Thornburg engagement.
Second, Dennis Johnson.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right.
The next one is for Will Gardner of Taft Law to provide environmental, both the safety and regulatory review of the project and advise the town.
Has everybody had an opportunity to review that agreement? Any questions for Mr. Culp? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the letter of engagement with Taft Law.
So moved. Emily Pearson.
Second, Dennis Johnson.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good to go there.
And then the final one is from August Mack. They are an environmental consulting firm, and that is for them to review the project and to advise the town on the environmental and safety issues from the
Yeah.
consultant.
Do you have any information on the scope of that?
It was covered in that letter, is that what?
I mean, it was very, very general.
Yeah, but it's because they wanted to be able to respond to the questions as they came up.
Gotcha. Okay. Any additional questions on that?
So within the scope they've laid out, they will be taking some direction from all of, kind of us collectively about
Correct.
what issues we feel is most important for them to,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the letter of engagement for August Mack Environmental.
So moved, Dennis Johnson.
Second, Emily Pearson.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Good to go there.
And I also just want to note that the town's financial advisor, Baker Tilly, is going to be doing work on this as well. We currently have a contract with them if we determine it's necessary to have a separate contract, but at the moment, my understanding is plan to bill us under our normal contractual rates for the work they do, doing the financial analysis on the impact.
Okey-dokey.
And
Good to go. Anything else?
That's all I
All
have.
right, good to go on legal counsel report. Thank you very much, Mr. Culp. Moving along to Cicero Jackson Township Plan Commission report. Frank?
Good evening, council. I have here in front of me this month's version of the director's report. I sent an email out yesterday with some other documents attached. I hope everybody got that. Permit revenue for the month of January 2026 was $9,821. That's same for the year-to-date as first year of the month, or first month of the year, $9,821.86. At the same time last year, January of '25, we were at $2,997 for the month and the same for the year. That's a difference for the month of January at plus $6,824.86. Same for the year. We issued a total of 12 building permits for January of '26. 9 were for within the corporate limits, no new homes. And we issued another 3 out in Jackson Townships, no new homes there either. Estimated cost of these projects permitted was $58,725. In other news, we started using the new system. That was a couple of the attachments that I sent you, had those reports. I think they look pretty good. We're not anywhere near satisfied with the system yet, though, so we're still discovering bugs every time we use it. But they are dealing with it, so we're getting it fixed up, and I think it's going to work out nice for us. That's my report. I believe Mr. Strong has something to add, though?
Correct.
Good evening, council. So as president of the Cicero-Jackson Township Planning Commission, one of my roles is to give the recommendations to the town council out of the planning commission on any rezone request. So I have that this evening, and it's a certificate of action. The Cicero-Jackson Township Planning Commission did on January 14th of 2026 hold a public hearing for the rezoning of a partial from C3 Business Park Light Industrial District to a PD C3 Planned Development District known as Nickel Plate Reliability Project PUD District as docket number PC-0126-02-C3. Property address was at 0 State Road 19 here in Cicero, Indiana. The Cicero-Jackson Township Planning Commission sends a non-favorable recommendation to the Town Council of Cicero, Indiana on the rezoning request with 6 yes votes and 3 no votes on the non-favorable recommendation motion. So I would like to give that to you, President Cox. Thank you,
Very
sir.
much, President Strahl.
That was 6-3, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Anybody have anything else on that? Still no Mr. Bryant, huh? All right, well, pretty soon I'm going to be doing a dance for you all to entertain you for a few minutes, but I guess we will move on to the semi-dump truck through downtown discussion under miscellaneous. Hey, hold on a second, back up, you're the man.
Hey.
Town engineer report when you're ready. I'll let you do that, and then we'll jump back to the bid opening, just to give you a little break.
Maybe you want to do bid opening first, give him a break.
That's true. Do you want us to do the bids first?
From the last meeting.
Do you need time to collect yourself, or are you ready?
I just wanted to make sure I didn't.
Fire away, then.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. I think I had one for Kevin, but he wasn't here when I gave him out. Hi.
Good evening.
For the record, I wouldn't wait on for no good reason. Plan.
I take it we had no additional bids?
No way,
So you said you sent this out to 9, right? Or we had 9 potential bidders, and we ended up with 7?
It's pretty good.
That's a pretty good response.
Yeah, if you look at that sheet I handed out there, those are all the plan holders that actually had plans.
Okay.
Do you have extras? Anybody want to bid tabulation sheet?
So you see up front
So you
there.
can see.
You want me to proceed while you're doing that?
Yeah, go ahead and go through your engineer report.
Okay. Nothing to report on water, wastewater, sent to pay Reynolds' continues work. They've been a little slow, obviously, with the weather. They did get the sludge press, pumps, and water boosters started up last week, so that's all up and running. We do have a site meeting there tomorrow, so we'll get some more information. But we did send up their pay application 19 on January 28th, so I don't know if you want to discuss that tonight or not.
Let us discuss it now. So thanks for the response to the email I sent you as well.
Sure.
We'll see where that goes, but I'll make a motion to pay bid application 19 the total bid application for $344,249.33.
I'll second that. Dennis Johnson.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's getting paid.
We did send up Reynolds' report on the 31st when we got it for December, so I don't know if anybody want to discuss any more of that at this point. Okay. Community Crossings 2024, that's West Jackson. They did get the lights changed, as reported at the last meeting. They got the pipe bollards up, they got the ADA parking signs in, so we do have a couple of pay apps that they submitted that'll be coming soon.
Okay.
But at this point in time, they should be substantially complete, and we're waiting for the snow to melt so we can actually see something when we walk it, and do a punch list. But it should be a matter of just wrapping stuff up for the most part when weather allows on certain things, but we'll try to get that closed out. The 2025 CCMG project is done, and we're waiting for a little more contractor information so we can get the paperwork up to close
Yep.
that out with NDOT, but we're really close with that. They just had a couple things we're trying to get from them. Then the 2026 CCMG is East Jackson, which is the bid openings that we're talking about opening tonight. So that's what that project is. As far as the Morris Landing Drive under drain project, we did get bids 9 bids last week. I sent everybody up a bid tab today, but basically we got 9 bids, and we got 2 or 3 of the low ones are within budget. So we're reviewing those, and then we'll go back to the Stormwater Board with a recommendation. So, but that should proceed.
So did the Stormwater Board already go, Bruce, already approve based on review and approval, or are you waiting for a recommendation?
We had a tally sheet, so I mean, we know who the low bidder was.
You didn't approve
did
it?
award.
No, we have
We had award.
protocol, we let the council, then they'll give us, we have not approved anybody at this time.
Okay.
Is that what your question is?
Yeah. Sometimes we'll approve based on review of low bidder.
And there was no rush with that one like some others
Okay.
with financing, so we figured we'd review it and
I'd
then
like the stormwater to take a look at it, and then, I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll be just a rubber stamp, but let us see the numbers first before we.
Okay, I got you. Oh, I thought you've already seen them, sorry.
No, sir, I have not.
seen it, well, they opened the bids and read them,
Okay.
and took them under advisement. So
I just know
we would plan to do a recommendation letter and bid tab, go back to the Stormwater Board and have a meeting and make a recommendation and review it. And then I would assume the Stormwater Board, as a stormwater project, would make a motion to award, and then we'd come back to the council just.
As soon as he presents it to us, we'll probably make it that meeting, we'll make a choice, rather
Okay.
than try to do something. They're not gonna start this spring anyway, but let's get them on the rules as far as material and equipment and everything.
I don't remember, Mr. Culp, the council didn't have to approve it, it's their budget, correct?
That's correct. As long as they're just spending stormwater funds, it's their decision.
Yep, that's what I thought.
So we just come back and just kind of report to
Yeah.
keep the council up to date, so
But it's their judgment.
their project.
Yeah, I think in the past, we've had some of our money in with some of the stormwater, and that's where it's had a two-step process.
But we're spending your money, not our money.
No, we're spending your money. I'm sorry, you're spending your
We've
money.
already separated council, no, we didn't.
You're spending your money.
We're spending our money.
Yes.
That is all that I had, unless somebody has some more questions.
Well, under 2026 CCMG, I did receive a copy of the award contract last week, so I do need approval to sign that document. It's an 80/20 matching grant.
I'll make a motion to allow President Cox to sign the award document for the 2026 CCMG.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you much.
And then are we going to have Mr. Bryant read out the bids?
Yeah, we'll go back to that. We'll jump back to that right now.
Still have any more of those left, or-
Tell me what?
You have any more of those left?
I didn't want to, you were on a roll.
Yep.
Yeah, what was the bid?
Take some privilege here.
They don't let me either.
Man, I picked the one that's hard to cipher.
Make sure when you read the bid, you read it twice, please, because I'm slow. And I'm okay with that.
personnel is that workers' comp.
It is indeed.
All right. Let you work through that, and then I'll start it.
So was there a base bid?
There's just one bid on these.
Okay.
Mine was kind of hard to find.
Each three of the proposals, one should have a total bid amount.
Yeah.
Total base bid, that's the number we're looking for?
Correct. All right, I'll start us off. Calumet Civil Contractors, Inc. has a total base bid amount of $378,000.
Even?
Yep, $378,000.
Thank you.
Calumet Civil Contractors.
I'm ready. Baumgardner and Company, 473-697.50 cents. Baumgardner and Company, 473-697.50 cents.
Thank you.
I have Ace Paving, a total of $379,850.
I have E&B Paving LLC in the amount of $324,316.
Can you say that number again?
$324,316.
Thank you.
I've got Howard Asphalt LLC in the amount of $321,495.
Say it again.
Howard Asphalt LLC, $321,495.
I have DC Construction Services, the amount is $430,501.56. Again, that's $430,501.56. And then at this time, I would recommend that we take these under advisement so that they can be reviewed by Mr. Bryant and Mr. Cooper.
We're not done
one
yet.
more.
We're not
Oh,
done.
we
yet.
have one
got
more, I'm
more,
sorry.
don't we?
So we need to,
Okay.
This looks like it's in a different spot than the other one. I mean, it's still in that's gotta be it,
That's
right?
got it. That's it.
This is Grady Brothers, Inc. 391-150. 391-150. Grady Brothers.
It's like Howard
So-
Companies.
Do we have any others? Just make sure, be clear. Everybody open, everything? Okay.
so Mr. Culp, because this is very time sensitive, does it make sense to nominate the lowest bid upon your approval? And then can we do a second one on the second lowest bid if the first one doesn't meet? Because this is very time sensitive.
Right. Yeah, what I would suggest is we move to accept contingent upon Mr. Bryant's and my review, the apparent low bidder, which is Howard Companies. Contingent upon that review, to accept that and move forward with the proviso that if there is a problem with that bid, then we would accept the one from E&B Paving, which is the second low bidder.
Okay, got it. All right, so I'll make a motion to contingently approve Howard Company's bid of $321,495, contingent on legal and engineering review and approval. If that bid does not meet the engineering and legal requirements, then award E&B Paving the second low bid of $324,316.
I'll second that. Dennis Johnson.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much, all.
Next, if you consider adding one more thing to that, it's just all these documents submitted to NDOT before March 1st to avoid losing the grant.
Is that March
First.
1st?
In light of that, in addition to what you did, get a motion for Joe to be able to sign a notice of award depending upon the final recommendation. That way we can go ahead and get the agreements moving before the next meeting.
Okay. And just to make everyone aware, I am out of town from February 25th to March 4th, so I'll need to sign it before I go.
And at our next meeting, you'll probably have some more info on this for us too. I mean, you'll at least know probably who we're moving forward with.
No, yeah, we will know because the plan would be to issue those award and you have to move ahead with somebody before the next meeting.
Okay.
But they have to have time to get agreements signed.
Right.
And,
Understood.
So I'll make a motion to allow President Cox to sign a formal notice of award on final recommendation from Engineering and Legal Counsel for the 2026 CCNG East Jackson Street Improvements Project.
I'll second.
Motion is second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Moving along. Okay. Okay, moving back to, new business. Bess. All right, so what this is tonight is a discussion between the council and the petitioners for the Best facility out on State Road 19. This is the first opportunity we've had as a council to ask our questions that we've compiled and get further information prior to moving on to the contracted consultant phase of the due diligence. So, if you guys would like, do you have anything to say prior, or should we just start firing?
No, happy to answer any and all questions. Again, Brandon Gauman, lead developer for this proposal. I have with me many members of our team, as well as a number of our subject matter experts. Happy to answer any and all questions, and I may tag in some of our experts that can give more specific info where appropriate.
And some of these questions probably will tag on to questions that were asked during the Plan Commission, whether there's further clarity being sought or any information has changed.
I have also brought printed out copies of our Plan Commission presentation that we made at the last public meeting. That's just for your reference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have an extra? Do you have one more? Our project coordinators.
Do you just want to give a quick synopsis of the petition?
Yeah, certainly. So the Nickel Plate Reliability Project is a battery energy storage system. This is a standalone battery energy storage system. That means that the batteries that are charging off of the grid and then dispatching that energy are just that. They are standalone. There are no other facilities involved. There are no solar panels. There are no wind turbines, gas turbines, anything of that nature. The nameplate capacity of this proposal is 200 megawatts. That's about enough to power about 65,000 homes. We call this utility scale, so through that, our electricity injection into the point of interconnection must be approved by the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. Those are the folks that operate the grid, not just here in Indiana, but also in 14 other states throughout the country. They do have a big office in Carmel here. So with that, we are obviously here out of the recommendation from the Plan Commission and here to answer any and all additional questions that you have.
So through the life cycle of this project, do you guys retain ownership and manage the property the entire time?
That's correct. We own and operate the asset the entire time.
Okay. In the event that IPA should go out of business, sell, what have you, what becomes the status of the the proposal on 19?
Sure. So we're the largest independent power producer that is in the standalone battery energy storage system space. Standalone BESS is our bread and butter, and we obviously are here with the intention of owning and operating throughout the entire lifetime of the asset. The rezone from C3, light industrial, to the PD C3, that governs this parcel and therefore governs this project. So nothing about safety or performance standards changes whatsoever.
Is this also governed by the IURC?
Yes, we would require a declaration from the IURC, and then any power purchase agreement, which is how the power would be off-taken to, say a local utility, for instance, that would utilize our facility, that would be approved by the IURC as well.
Okay. And anybody, feel free to jump in here. My questions are all over the place.
Along the lines of where you're at. Can you talk a little bit about what happened prior to you even coming to Cicero in terms of just the process with MISO to even get to a point where you could have a discussion about potentially hooking onto the grid? What's that process look like, and how involved is MISO?
Quite involved. It's a pretty long process. I'll keep it brief, but all developers or energy generators, anyone, whether it be BESS, whether it be a natural gas-fired plant or a coal plant, anyone that wants to inject significant electricity onto the grid must get into queue. They must apply with MISO. This is done over a period of clusters. There's generally one per year. So we submitted this in the 2022 MISO cluster. And from there, MISO takes all of the applications and they start checking them for contingencies within their system, and they are modeling how each individual project, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these applications within each queue cluster, how they would affect the grid, what upgrades may be necessary, for instance, if there are a large number of generators that want to inject in the same place. Lines and substations can only withstand and hold so much power, so they may have to make adjustments or make additions or make upgrades in that case. So this is all culminating in many studies and restudies trying to get a dollar amount figure that MISO can then send to all the generation request developers such as IPA Power and say, you will be responsible for X million dollars in network upgrades in order to get your injection onto our grid. So that is a years-long study process. We are hopefully reaching the end of a decision point 2 within that 22 cluster of MISO. They've instituted a lot of new software changes, which will bear fruit over time and make the process more efficient, but it's a very, very long process. So in addition to that, besides the actual electricity and the math and science behind that, they check for site control, so the geographic space that the project would take up. They check for your environmental due diligence, and they check for your preliminary engineering as well. And ultimately, the projects that continue with this queue, as we hope to do so with our project here, they have to post a number of different deposits on the way to kind of indicate we are still planning on constructing this project. So those are generally in the millions of dollars. They become non-refundable over periods of time like they have for our project. And those are all funding these studies and interconnection restudies that MISO does.
So those aren't site-specific, it's done with the general area you would like to work within? Is that how that's done? Or?
No, sir. So they are site-specific. So MISO does a site-specific injection analysis for each and every individual project that is in that queue cluster.
So you had this parcel picked out in 2022?
No, not this particular parcel, but this line segment.
Okay, so it's by line segment?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Could you explain just for the people who don't know what MISO is?
It's the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. There are a number of different grids that make up the United States electricity grid. These are just the governing bodies that determine the power flow between all of the various high voltage lines down to the distribution lines that we have out in front of our homes. In Indiana, as well as 14 other states in the Midwest, MISO is the grid operator for this area.
Mr. Culp, kind of branching off of what Mr. Cox stated, if whatever agreements are made if they were to go out of business, how do we protect those agreements moving forward?
Well, part of that is you require a decommissioning plan.
No, I'm talking about any other agreements, decommissionings later. So if there's any financial agreements or whatever made and they go out or they sell, how do you maintain those financial agreements? They go bankrupt, so.
Well, and that's part of why we have Mr. Sternwald, because I have never put together that type of agreement. But typically, they include provisions for what happens if they had to terminate or cut it short. But there are contingencies in there, like if they go into bankruptcy or something like that, that would impact that. Now, that is not my area of
I understand.
expertise.
So that's where this legal
Yes.
support will.
That's correct.
Will you note that, please, and make sure that we have a clear understanding of what that looks like?
So I assume basically it's a bonded project where money accumulates in the event that there needs to be a decommission of the site?
Yes, so a requirement of the PD ordinance as drafted requires not only a plan for how the site will be decommissioned, but also financial surety. So a letter of credit or a bond, and that is rechecked every couple of years to make sure that it's still on track. A third-party engineering firm does that decommissioning estimate, and then IPA Power, the applicant, has to provide those funds. It's held in an institution that's mutually agreed upon, I believe the language is. And then those funds, as I mentioned, are constantly rechecked every certain number of years, just to make sure that that continues on track. So those funds are already there for us to decommission the project at the end of its life cycle.
Okay. And, I'm sorry, have you put together decommissioning plans for other sites?
Yes, we have.
So does it typically include complete removal of all aspects of the project and returns the land to normal use?
That's correct. There is nothing in a battery energy storage system project that cannot be easily removed above or underground with the construction equipment.
Okay. Have you ever actually gone through a decommission? I'm sorry, this is the last one.
You're good.
No, those life cycles tend to be about 30 years, so at this point, we have not decommissioned any of our projects.
Okay. I got a couple more questions, I'll let you go back to it. Since we're on the topic of decommissioning, and you brought up the life cycle of the project being 30 years, my understanding is these batteries have basically a cycle life of 2,000 to 3,000 cycles, correct?
Dependent upon each individual module, but I'll say that's within the ballpark.
That's okay.
Yes.
All right. So at that point, in a number of years, how would those correspond?
Yes, so these containers themselves, you'll note that they are all partitioned containers. Inside of them is not just a loose number of batteries or something like that. It looks like kind of a server rack, if you're familiar with that, where the batteries, all the individual modules are placed together into a rack. Those can be removed safely, and then new ones can be installed very quickly and easily.
Okay, and just for the understanding of this particular proposal, each individual unit contains a series of batteries within it. What is the typical size of that battery?
Like physical size or?
Dimension of an individual battery. It's a question of curiosity more than anything.
Yeah, an individual module is about the size of an oil can, more or less.
Okay, so we're not talking about one large battery that's contained within that unit.
No, not at all. That's correct. So the individual cells inside of a module, and then a module, they are aligned in an array into a rack, and then those racks are those that can be easily removed.
Okay, so in the event of a failure, you essentially just remove that module and replace it, I assume?
Yes, say for instance that our asset management team detects a fault and it auto trips the shutoff, then our O&M staff can safely go in there. They can identify exactly which module is affected. They can remove that and replace it.
Who's monitoring that and where?
So IPA Power monitors that in-house 24/7 with our asset management team that's based in Austin, Texas. And then we would have our O&M staffer that reside here and are the eyes and ears and the physical person on staff for the site.
Okay, so they would respond in the event of anything. It would be immediately shut down remotely, I would assume, and then they would respond on site to meet first responders?
Yes, and there are also auto redundancies, kind of trips that can do so automatically.
Sure, okay. I'm going to ask one more question, I'll turn it over to you guys. One of the topics in the Plan Commission meeting was the sound and the decibel level, and if I remember correctly, it was roughly 75 decibels produced, correct? I may be going off a cut sheet of a battery I found.
50.
You had 50?
Sure, so just to delineate that, the restrictions that the PD ordinance governs are 50 decibels at an outer wall of an occupied residence, and 55 dBA, 55 decibels at a property line, and then I would say that somewhere within the range of about 60 to 70 if you were standing at 1 meter.
Okay, so basically, based on your description, that would be a cumulative dBA then for all the units in the...
That's
on the
correct.
site,
That's
correct?
inclusive of the entire facility.
Okay, okay. That's what I was looking for. I have more questions, but they're
Well,
risk
so
related.
that, I mean, that's, I want to go back to decommission, but let's stay with the sound level. So 50 dB, what I wrote from the plan commission is at 300 feet, or which essentially takes you to a home. I think our noise ordinance prohibits any noise 50 feet. We're going to talk about regular hours, not weekend hours or anything. Prohibits, and you guys please chime in, prohibits any noise 50 feet beyond the property line. So
Any noise at
coming
all
from a facility.
coming from a facility.
In a commercial district?
In a
I mean,
C,
it's
in a
standard-
C3,
It's a standard noise ordinance, so that's as it's written today.
Huh.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
It states, like you said, during the regular, like daytime hours, during,
Typical
Monday through
hours, there's always
Thursday. Yeah.
weekends, but yeah,
typical
typical.
hours, it's, if it can be heard from 50 feet away from the property line, then it could be a violation of that ordinance.
So we have to shut down the boathouse, right?
No, there are discuss, or other time periods where you can exceed that, but this is a constant noise, right?
And that was one of my next questions. Is it variable depending on the time of the day and the load, or is it pretty much just a constant?
I would say that it's mostly constant.
Okay. And I'm assuming that's created by the cooling fans, right?
The inverters mostly and the fans involved, yes.
Gotcha.
Yep. I can certainly check with our lawyers and see how the PD ordinance interacts with that noise ordinance as well.
I mean, I'm not saying this is like, but one of the major concerns of windmills, to say, is that humming noise that you hear within close proximity, right? We have these noise ordinances in place, that it's not a nuisance to a neighbor, and we know we have homes around this area, so.
Right, and those homes are in light industrial districts. The 3 closest residences to our proposed project are in C3 light industrial. The way that it is described in the draft of the PD ordinance, again, is the 50 at the outer wall, 55 at the property line. That 50 is about, it's difficult to qualify sound. It's a lot easier to quantify it through dBA, but if you were to qualify it, that 50 dBA is around, it's lower than a conversation and around an air conditioner.
Yeah, I think we need to understand that a little better.
So as the PD's written, if this facility was operating and at the property line, it was 56 dBA, you would agree that you would not be in compliance with the PD?
I agree.
I'm going to make a quick note from your ordinance. There are exemptions to your sound ordinance. Number 9 is sounds associated with the normal conduct of legally established non-transient businesses when such sounds are customary, incidental, and within the normal range appropriate for such use. A battery energy storage system would be non-transient, and the sound that it generates is the sound that it generates. It's not going to have a variable high or low in the same way that a farm, which is also an exempted use, is going to have, in my farm, excuse me, when we run equipment, it's a lot louder. In the evening, cows are sleeping, equipment's off, it's a lot quieter. Battery is going to be consistent. But I would assert, subject to your input, Mr. Culp, that the battery energy storage system would fall
What's
under
that
exemption
section
number 9.
of our
Yeah.
ordinance?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
It's
So that
under
is-
9311,
Yep.
which is noise regulations, under section E exemptions, number 9.
Yes.
And I do agree with that interpretation. Otherwise, most of our businesses that have HVACs and some things like that would run afoul. And that's why it was written that way when it was adopted.
to look into that a little more. And, I mean, what are you basing the 50 dB at home's wall? I mean, when, at Plan Commission, you said 300 feet. So what are,
What is the 300 feet referencing, sir?
I'm just regurgitating what was said during the Plan Commission.
Does that have context to, I'm sorry.
Well, 300, so the 50 dB at 300 feet is what I wrote down out of the Plan Commission. I could very well be incorrect in that. You said at a home.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's talking about 50 feet at the wall of any home. We were talking at the Plan Commission about what is the closest home to this particular parcel, and it was 300 feet was the answer.
No, the closest home is 630 feet.
Okay. So I guess I'm still not clear. So we're saying at the wall of a home, we're at 50 dB? Is that what we're saying, at 600 feet?
Yes, sir. So the regulations here, what we're talking about, these are commitments that are being made here. So the PD ordinance draft can say, you know, any number of dBA. But what we're committing to here and what the PD ordinance draft says now is a regulation that obviously if it does not meet that, then it would be operating outside of the regulation. It would assert that it was not compliant.
What are these sites operating at? I mean, have you guys taken noise measurements from other sites?
Yes, yeah. At 1 meter, it can be, 70 dBA, but sound being logarithmic, the further you move away from the source of the sound, the quieter it gets. So
Right.
that's why we build in setbacks to account for that.
Okay.
I was just going to note that that was the standard that we put in, but none of the documents that we filed indicated that that is what the sound will be at the home that is 630 feet away. That would be, in fact, high for the home that's going to be 630 feet away, but the limit is for any home that's going to be within that area, it's going to be 50. So we're kind of mixing what the standard of the ordinance is and then the actual nearest home. And to my knowledge, a measurement has not been taken from that home, just for clarity.
No, we haven't taken any atmospheric noise level test at this time.
Of any of your sites?
We certainly have
You can't
four
take it
sites.
here, right, because it's not installed, but of any...
Exactly. So I'm saying that for this particular site, we have not yet gone out, we have not gotten the permission from a landowner, for instance, and tested what the noise is on average day-to-day there. We've not done that yet.
I'm more worried about what this facility, the noise level would cause. I mean, it would drive me absolutely crazy if I hear a hum. So, do you have that data from a similar site at 50, 100, 150, the equivalent noise?
At 50 to 100, what, I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah. So I've done a lot of noise modeling on these projects, and
Could you please state your
yeah,
name?
my name's Justice Sawyer, development engineer with IPA Power, professional engineer. But we do noise modeling before and after projects because our layout might change a little bit, and then post projects you go and check out where your noise measurements might be 50, 55 at property lines, sides of houses, but based on weather, temperature, you'll have different fan speeds throughout different times of the day, maybe in different states. So it's not a blanket statement, but we do our noise modeling to account for the local weather, the local running conditions, and everything in that regard. But happy to answer specifics on this one, on what the sound's coming from.
Do you have the data that came out of that at certain distances?
They're not apples to apples. One in California or Phoenix is going to run way hotter and produce more noise than something up here might be running at a high of, I don't know,
So
80 or 90.
Do you have the model for this site?
I've made a preliminary, and we are meeting all applicable standards that we've put together on our agreement.
I mean, yeah, I'm not,
But from a noise perspective, yes, we have HVAC units and cooling similar to car radiators that are producing noise, and then you compile all those, see how the sound waves propagate through local conditions, environmental, both weather and ground cover based, and then you model your buildings at the certain heights, and you make sure you're under your threshold you promise.
Do you have any context for what like 50 decibels is?
We've talked about conversations, HVAC units, small outdoor ones. There's plenty of them online, honestly.
Kitchen appliances.
Yeah.
I'm
sure
There is a note.
Typical
Yeah, there
daytime
is,
neighborhood.
and there is a note on that in that presentation that we made to the Plan Commission as well. There's a slide that talks a bit about the qualitative noise conditions there. Trying to equate what a number is to what we would
So,
perceive.
I mean, my research said typical homes sit in a 35 to 50 dBA range during normal activity.
Okay.
But that's,
indoor? Is that indoor?
I'm sorry, that's inside, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Outside is 35 to 45 at night and 45 to 55 during the day.
Okay, that's helpful. So because the PD says what it says, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's 50 at the outer wall of an existing residence and 50, no more than 55 at the property line, is that right?
That's correct.
So I assume because that's in the PD, you guys feel like you would be below those levels?
That's exactly right.
And if you were not, you would agree that you would be out of compliance with the PD?
Agreed.
So my question is 50 the right level, Jacob? And I can't, I don't know, I'm not a sound engineer.
Yeah, I'm not either, yeah, I think. yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you're sitting at your home and it's typically 35, and now you're at 50, that's a problem.
Well, that's inside, and the 50 is measured outside, and I do want to note that the current noise standard in C3 zoning is 50 dBA at the outer wall.
That's what our zoning says?
Yes. So it's congruent with the current standard.
You got a page on that? Anybody?
I haven't found it yet.
I got it. It's in,
It's in our zoning?
No, I'm sorry, I was looking at
He's asking
their-
about our zoning.
I was going to look it up in our zoning.
no, I don't know.
If somebody can tell me what page it's on, if not, I'll look for it.
Looking it up now. So while they're doing that, I do want to go back to decommission a little bit as well,
Yes, sir.
if we're good while they're looking that up. So the bond, how is that bond calculated for a 200 megawatt hour system?
So a third-party engineer does a decommissioning estimate. They take into account all costs associated with the decommissioning effort. It's combined with their decommissioning plan so that they can figure out what steps must be taken, therefore what dollars must be spent. So then, out of that is totaled up, and it is net of the salvage value of any of the materials that are still there, so steel and batteries, and then that total is then bonded.
And when is that set for the initial?
So it'll be governed by the PD ordinance, and that would be prior to any operation of the facility. And then that bond has to be that money has to be put up by IPA Power, and then that bond number, because obviously the value of our dollar changes over time, that bond value is then checked a period of every few years by that third party to ensure that it is keeping up with the real-world application of decommissioning. So, for instance, say that decommissioning costs $100, and then in the future, it is estimated to cost $120. However, the bond is only at $115. IPA Power would then be required to contribute the additional $5 to get it up to the current estimate.
So I'm assuming, Mr. Culp, we would have all that set, at least that initial value set in the PD before it was ever approved?
Yeah, I would recommend that when we decide what that amount was, we would build that into the PD. And we could either go into a lot of detail, or we could make certain provisions in there and then require an agreement acceptable to the town to be adopted outside the PD.
In my experience, we probably wouldn't have it in the PD itself. It would be required before they could go into operation, just because there would be such a length of time between a possible PD approval and like construction and operation. So in my experience, you would normally have that third-party engineer come up with the amount later in the life cycle and like closer to construction and operation.
Yeah, and
We could do it today, but if it's not going to be constructed for another 2 years, like,
And
we would almost be on the time to update the number.
And I didn't mean so much putting a hard number in there, but putting in
Okay.
there the requirement that
Absolutely.
we go through this process and an engineer comes up with
Yeah.
a value.
Yeah, I mean, that would have to be required certainly before operation.
Yeah, I mean, so, I know I'm asking difficult questions. I struggle with signing up for something I don't know what the answer is, honestly, right?
But it's their obligation, not ours, to
No,
fund
I mean,
it.
it could end up being our problem, though.
But we get a call in the bond. That's the way it would
But
work.
does the bond cover the cost to clean it up?
Yeah, I mean,
That was the spirit of my question earlier, and
Yeah,
basically,
I know it.
I mean, the intent, and I'm not defending it, the intent would be that's why we hired the third-party person to say this is what's going to cost. And you're right, that's that
I
person.
mean, I struggle to sign up for anything before I know what a value is, approve something before I know what a value is myself. Okay, so I need to think
But
about
can I ask Mr. Culp a question? Mr. Culp, let's say 25 years down the road, it gets built, IPA's, for whatever reason, gone, now they're not around, so we have to pull the bond. I don't know what other recourse we would have at that point. I guess we can talk about that later. I don't know if there's insurance or other, business interests of IPAs. I mean, I guess that would all have to be fleshed out in.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be very specific on the facts at that time.
I'm sorry, that was a question, too complicated of a question.
If there's an overage, we do have other avenues, and that's assuming that there's money there to recover.
Yeah,
So-
Yeah, I mean, that's my
Yeah, that's
question.
fair.
How do
That's
you
fair,
make sure
yeah.
that there's enough
Yeah.
money there to cover it?
Yeah.
And that's written into the PD ordinance and the requirement for the decommissioning plan. That's why it's reviewed every so few years, a period of time, so that that estimate can be made current.
I'm worried about that first one. So it's just something on my mind. So then, continuing on with that decommission plan, I think the site plan, at least when we had a previous discussion, you talked about building mounds around the facility, is that correct?
We have a very extensive visual buffer, so trees, evergreen trees. What the mounds be for
Were they
what
elevated? Well, I think
purpose?
it was elevate, at least when we had a discussion, it was to elevate those trees, if I remember correctly, maybe
I might have not been involved in that discussion with you, I apologize, but.
no, the plan is just at ground level to put 10-foot trees, is that correct?
That's correct. Say again, sorry?
Berms, yeah. that's what I
berms
was
is what,
talking
yeah.
about.
Are you asking if the plan includes berms at this
Yes,
time?
correct. That's the first part.
Okay.
Does it include berms?
It does not include berms. It has 10 to 12-foot mature trees. If you reference the materials I passed out there that were presented in the Plan Commission meeting, there are visual renderings of what that actually looks like. And that's at the commencement of operation. So I'm not talking about planting 3-foot saplings or something like that and letting them grow. The intent here is to serve as a visual or an aesthetic buffer here.
10-foot minimum trees, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then the decommission plan puts grass back in place of where this facility is?
Yes, nothing that is installed here, whether it be the actual equipment itself or the landscaping, we can leave the trees if so desired. If not, we can log them and take them out. I mean, those are all applicable options.
Concrete retention pond?
Yes, so confirming that any and all aspects of the facility can be and will be removed during decommissioning.
What are the structures coming above the tree line?
There's a switchyard infrastructure. So at commencement, the switchyard that's constructed in order to tap into that 345 kV line.
Okay. So there's always going to be an aspect of it that's visible.
Well, depending upon the growth of the trees, they'll likely double in approximately 10 years. There are other visual renderings we have of a maturation period. I believe it is 7 or 10 years. I have sent them over previously. Only the ones that are in the packet there from the Plan Commission meeting, those are from the commencement of operation. So that's at the beginning. Obviously, the trees will grow taller.
Just coming in to comment on the noise.
Oh, okay.
Just close that one down. So the C3 standard is a general noise standard, so Aaron, tell me if I'm wrong, I think it would default to your overall noise ordinance, which we just went through, the 93.11, but it does not list its own dBs for C3. We would have to comply with the 50 and 90. Obviously not 90 because we've prohibited that ourselves in the draft PD.
What's the
but
90? That's something in our zoning
That's-
ordinance, or our sound ordinance?
You let the boathouse get loud after
Max
dark.
90 dB measured at 10 feet of property line,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday.
So that's all in
Sunday.
93.11?
I don't know what it is, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
allowed
a
to be
whole-
90
That's all
on
there.
weekends.
All right.
Yeah, that's the whole sound ordinance.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for that.
There was a question about insurance a second ago. We would be named as secondary insured on that policy, correct?
Yes,
Town,
yeah,
I mean,
additionally insured.
Additionally
Yes.
insured, okay.
So when you decommission, you do soil testing, I'm assuming,
Which kind of soil testing?
contaminants?
Because the project doesn't have any emissions, I don't believe that there are any that are planned. We can certainly build something into the decommissioning plan to require that.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty sensitive from a project we've just been working with.
Certainly.
So I would want to see, I would want to see if this was approved, soil testing after the decommission with some caveat of, I mean, I don't know what the right thing, Aaron, is. Would it be IDEM agreement or, I mean, we don't want to go through.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
so it has, I'm sorry,
we,
sir.
we can put in there in the agreement that part of the decommissioning would be some soil sampling. Now, under Indiana law, if that soil sampling found contamination, by law, we have to report it to IDEM.
Okay.
So IDEM would be made aware at that point in time. And then if it's discovered and it needs to be addressed in decommissioning, then any money for decommissioning would be available to deal with that.
Okay.
Along with our insurance policies.
Are there any contaminants contained in the batteries that could theoretically escape the battery casing? Not in a fire event, I'm talking just in general. Do they wear down over time?
No, none whatsoever. So they're entirely sealed, and they are designed to be as such. There is an IP rating as well for water intrusion, but no, there is no leaching of any materials into the ground or outside of that container. All parts of the equipment stay inside of that container.
And they're liquid cooled, right?
There are different models. Some can be liquid cooled. It's usually like an ethylene glycol mixture, and that, again, is all internal to the container.
Okay.
Is there plastic housings, I'm assuming?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Kind of along that, I was going to ask about the monitoring y'all do. Is the IPA team getting real-time data? Are they getting in certain increments? How's that happening?
Yes, sir. Instantaneous and real-time data, 24/7, every single day of the year at all times. We have an internet uplink to our asset management team. There is also a secondary internet uplink to ensure that there's redundancy. Say, for instance, we were to lose internet power in the area, then we could have a satellite internet to ensure that the data still comes to us and we can still monitor it accurately, instantaneously, in real time.
And because obviously you don't have a ton of people here locally, how do you manage if there is, like you said, there's an alarm goes off or something, somebody needs to come check on this site sooner than later? How do you manage that from a personnel perspective?
Yes, so that would be a collaborative approach that we would delineate with the fire department and their mutual aid partners. So say, for instance, we received a minor fault or something like that. Now, it may be the preference of the chief that they're alerted of that fault, and we just let them know. But that's something that is very customizable depending on the locality and depending on the preferences of the chief and then the mutual aid partners as well. Say, for instance, there is a temperature alert that comes on, and it automatically shuts down the container. Our O&M, our operations and maintenance team that is here on site, can be the eyes and ears in addition to our remote monitoring there. And then we can launch either, we can notify folks or we can engage in the emergency response plan, which again, we have to come up with as required by the Indiana Department of Homeland Security in a collaborative manner, so working alongside the fire department and their mutual aid partners.
Brandon, if an alert happens, how quickly do you respond to it? I know it's electronically, instantly
Yes.
alerted, but when's the local person going to do an on-site inspection? How soon after that alert?
Well, they would reside here in the area, so just simply as long as it takes for them to drive to the site if they happen to be working at home. So I'll estimate about 15 minutes.
Can you walk us through the process? So I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think this is probably where you're going. What occurs once they arrive on site?
So again, that'll be part of the emergency response plan, and that's a little bit more towards the O&M specialty. I can kind of give an overview of it, but obviously I want to make sure the site is secure, and then depending upon the alert, say depending upon the location of it, the most important part is just to get a visual inspection and to remain at a safe distance, which is about 100 foot, and just visually inspect. And then we can get confirmation from our team at the remote access point, our headquarters in Austin, and they can say, yes, it's successfully been shut down, for instance. And then from there, the operations and maintenance staff can go and approach the unit and inspect it.
Hey, Brandon, when you say shut down, has the alert already shut down the concern?
Yeah, depending upon the alert, yes, it does have the ability to automatically shut it down.
Yeah, I can help a little bit more specifics. There's hundreds of different kinds of alerts. Maybe there's one that the battery voltage is a little bit out of normal. You just need to go replace a battery module. They respond the next day. Maybe there's another level of alert where...
Let me stop you just,
yeah,
please
sure.
continue. But
Yeah, there's many different.
If a voltage goes a little bit out,
no biggie.
Do you let it ride? Or do you
Depends.
shut
There's
it
different
down?
thresholds. Absolutely.
Okay.
If it's maybe, I don't want to throw percentages, but if it's normal operating, maybe a little bit out, you go replace it the next day. It throws an alert to our operations team, and they may watch it for another day. But if it hits a certain threshold where a thermal runaway is possible, then that's when the fire department gets a call. That's when we have our best experts call and lead that emergency response plan, coordinate with the fire department, and take it from there.
Would it be possible then, upon an alert, for the fire department to be notified so that they can follow up to make sure you guys have followed up?
Yeah, absolutely. It's typically linked to that fire. There's a fire department control panel at the front of the site where if they want to be notified for the little annoyances, I don't see why that would be an issue.
I'm not sure that's needed.
There-
I'm just saying if...
There is, yeah, we can
But if there's a
customize the level.
concern,
And depending on that threshold and that level of how the chief and how mutual aid partners want to be alerted, yes, it is customizable and we can provide that.
and it can be done by text too.
I'm sorry?
It can be done by text as well.
Text, send out a text message?
Yes.
To them?
Might be typical for a call to go out automatically,
Yes.
but I don't see why text would be an issue.
Okay.
Along that line, I think I know what you're saying, but just so we have clarity, whether it's an alert that's kind of, like you said, minor, or maybe it's a more serious alert, our staff, meaning our public safety folks primarily, are not going to be showing up to this facility without someone from IPA that kind of has access and knows where things are and those kind of things.
That's exactly right.
Obviously, the emergency plan will also address those so that there is broad knowledge. But
To be
the
clear-
point of your people coming is because they know the technology, they know access, they know all these things because it's your property. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, and there would be no case where there is an alert and there is not an IPA O&M staffer there. In addition to that, we have many staff members on our team that reside in the Indianapolis area that would be there as well.
Do you have a requirement for the local person that they live within so many minutes or miles of the site? That way you can guarantee they're there in around 15 minutes?
I do not know if we have an internal requirement. I know it's certainly a guideline. I can look into that.
But to that point, Aaron, I mean, they could be on vacation as well, so.
Yeah, because I just want to
Well,
make
obviously,
sure.
they would need a backup in that
Yeah.
case.
Could I add one thing? Andrew Carty, I work with IPA, but I actually live on the north side of Indianapolis. We, in addition to the O&M staff and board members that we have here locally, we have multiple IPA executives that live in the Indianapolis area. Myself on the north side, Joe in Zionsville, all within 30 minutes. So there's multiple redundancies for somebody to be here really, really quickly in the unlikely instance that there was an event.
And in case of a real concern, you would come yourself
Absolutely.
and be able to handle the problem.
We would have all the data available to work with the fire chief address the issue.
Does IPA adhere to the UL 9540 and 40A third-party verification on their builds?
Yes, sir. So that is a requirement here in the state of Indiana. That is a requirement to obtain any of the 2 permits required by the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. Just to be clear, it is not a requirement of the developer. It's a requirement of the actual equipment. So that equipment is put through the 9540A test, and the equipment itself is put through the certification for 9540. So we are required to use that certified equipment. So I guess by transitive property, then yes, IPA is. But just to be clear, that standard is on the equipment. So that's like saying when we have anything with an electrical cord, you'll oftentimes see a UL logo on it. So we're not saying that Red Bridge Park Community Building is UL certified. We're saying all of the individual components that utilize electricity are UL certified. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does IPA on this kind of a build use any kind of internal fire suppression?
So depending on the model, there are...
I know, but depending on the model, but in the one being proposed for us,
Right.
would there be any kind of fire suppression?
So as Chief Fink had covered during the Plan Commission meeting, with lithium iron phosphate, and really with batteries in general, putting water, putting liquids on batteries is not the correct way to fight anything like that. And the focus of NFPA 855, which for those that don't know, that is the independent code adopted by the National Fire Protection Agency that specifically governs energy storage systems here in America. That focuses on fire prevention, and that is what is mandated and built into any and all models.
So the NFPA 855 code that's currently would be utilized in this build, supposedly it's on its 3rd generation, correct?
The 3rd revision of the code,
Yes.
855, yes, sir, it's the
Okay.
2026 revision.
And supposedly
Or
a new
addition.
one is coming down the pike, 800?
I'm not familiar with that, no.
That's-
855 is its own
That's the
code.
current one, but there's
Yes.
something down the road. My whole point in talking about that, if the 4th generation comes around and we're on 3, will there be any upgrade to our site to comply to the 4th generation or the 5th that may make it a safer operation because of things that it built into the new versions?
Sure. It's pretty difficult for everyone to project into the future what the reality may be at that point. So I don't know if there's specifics that we can commit to. I think we'd have to see what the revision is and then be able to adopt it, or we can at least explain what the changes are in those revisions or additions of the code.
Okay.
Does the state actually make that determination?
Does the state make the determination of what?
On what
sir?
version of NFPA 855 they're using?
It's the most current edition.
Always, though, but, I mean,
Yes.
you talk about general fire suppression, you know, you've got NFPA 13, NFPA 25's out there, Indiana's still working off NFPA 13 by
So-
choice, so I didn't know if it was the same in this regard.
So IDHS does require the most current edition of NFPA 855.
Okay.
And again, any developer, obviously specifically for our project here, IPA Power must obtain a pre-construction permit from IDHS where they go through and they check our plans, they check to make sure that we are complying with all those rules and regulations, state and federal law. And there is a second permit that prior to any operation of the facility, IDHS comes out and they do the same thing to make sure that the plans are matching reality.
I have another, it's just a question that you rendered, go ahead, and because this one's off a,
I was just going to note, based off of the last IDHS filing that I did for these guys, they recently received 2 permits from the state for other projects, but the things that I send, because there's an online application, you can go look at it, but that's not everything the state requires. I have to submit additional documentation. The state just didn't build a big enough form for what is actually needed. So I send all of the site plans the detailed final site plans, which are, issued for permitting. I send everything for the substation. This is both civil and structural. I send everything that is the specifications for the batteries that are going to be used. For the last one, it was the Solbank 3.0. I send all of the compliance specifications for the, you asked about UL 950, all of the equipment specifications, not only what it is, but all of its compliance documents go in a separate.
Sorry to interrupt you. So like, because you're the compliant, that means you're telling IDHS the specific model, the manufacturer, like all that is saying these are the units that will be installed?
So they have to see what type of battery it is. So
Okay.
that's the Solbank 3.0. They also have to see the Solbank 3.0's compliance documents.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, it's multiple emails. So then the HMA report, which,
It's the hazard mitigation analysis.
thank you. Number 6 is the NFPA 855 report.
So it's just proving and cataloging our compliance with the state and federal regulations.
And then for the last two, I sent the commissioning document. They don't actually need it for the first permit, they need it for the second permit, but because we have it, it comes with all of the specs for the battery, I just send it in anyway. So they know that the commissioning test has to be part of the second permit, but we send that as a standard. It's just what I do because these guys always have it. It's not required, so if you were to go pull another batteries permit to construct and they don't have that commissioning manual in there, they're not in violation. I just send an extra document because I can. And we received 2 permits quite literally today for the Fletcher and Williams sites from IDHS for permits to construct. So those will go through construction and then they'll have a permit to operate, which I will apply for before they can be commissioned because they have to be tested before they can be hooked in.
So UL's the only listing agency involved in this?
The IDHS is the only compliance for the permit, but they're not the only state agency that issues construction permits. IDIM issues the construction stormwater general.
I'm talking about from an equipment standpoint, and I'm sorry, I jumped a little bit.
No, you're fine. IDHS, yes, is the only agency that issues the equipment permit. Now, they do consult with other state officials, but when the General Assembly created the permit 2 sessions ago, they didn't bifurcate it or split it amongst different agencies. They housed it within IDHS, and IDHS is supposed to consult out as needed.
Gotcha. I'm just curious. Usually, in this type of scenario, I see both UL and FM Global involved, and I've not seen FM Global mentioned anywhere, but I do know that they have
NFPA
standards.
855 would govern this as opposed to MF Global.
Instead of individual listing agencies?
That's right.
Okay.
And so the required compliance with both NFPA 855 and additionally UL 9540.
Gotcha.
But in terms of state agencies, IDIM also has oversight.
Right.
Do you have any other questions for me related to?
Not regarding that.
Right, and IPA Power is obviously excited to provide any and all information to your expert consultants. If they have worked on a proposal for battery energy storage systems before, I hope they have. This will all be very familiar to them, and they will be able to answer your specific questions and provide a lot of that info that we provide. Again, happy to do it now. I know there's a lot, it's kind of dense information sometimes, but that's why you are retaining consultants and experts in their field, and if they have experience in this, they will recognize this.
In an earlier discussion with IPA, there was a discussion of a berm around the site. Now, it doesn't sound like that's part of the plan, and with the questions about noise and DBAs and getting, doesn't it seem like a berm might, and I even brought up the question as to why not even increase it, because it certainly knocks down, if you go around the highways, they put up these walls that direct the sound from going right into homes. Wouldn't the berm do a similar thing?
So those are all tools to mitigate sound. I think the most important thing is the actual sound level. So we can ascribe all sorts of tools. we could offer them up, that specific sound tools could be mandated. That doesn't actually change how the sound is measured. I mean, they certainly can influence it, but the most important thing to recognize is the quantitative limit on the sound. So that's why, whether it be through berm, whether it be through sound attenuation kits built into the equipment, whether it be the 40 to 100 foot deep vegetative buffer, all of those are working, and all of those are tools to achieve the quantitative sound limit, which in this case is 50 dBA.
And I would add that in the PD draft, there is a commitment to berming to supplement landscaping wherever is feasible. There's certainly a certain amount of height that you can add to berming before it would negatively impact landscaping's ability to survive and thrive, and we want to make sure the landscaping stays nice and pretty and thick, so you can only go so high, but wherever it would be feasible, that's a commitment that's already in the existing PD ordinance.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. In the event of a disaster, we're not talking fires. Fires are more likely to happen, but in the event we have an earthquake or tornado damage and several units are damaged, what type of plan do you have in place?
So we would build that into an emergency response plan for any and all scenarios. Agree with you that fires are exceedingly rare, extremely rare events. Obviously, tornadoes and earthquakes are too, but the point is to be prepared for anything. So yes, those will be built in. I will note that each and every container is about 94,000 pounds. It's also anchored into the ground, so it's a very secure and stable facility.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
I don't have
I think
any.
the spirit of most of these questions are what can be done in a good neighbor aspect to mitigate any negative effects to the surrounding residents.
Yeah, absolutely. We agree, and that's why we've built a lot of those into the PD ordinance. This is a very overall low-impact development. When you think about light industrially zoned parcels, most of the development that you would think coming out of that, they offer traffic and significant noise. They may be unsightly, a junkyard or an asphalt plant or something like that. This is obviously subject to an aesthetic review by the town as well, but we've already put forth our visual renderings and our commitments to making this essentially invisible. Driving along 19 there, you have a very thick vegetative buffer. At the shortest point in 360 degrees surrounding the entire facility, it's 40 foot deep. So imagine looking through 40 foot deep of evergreen trees. In some places it's as deep as 100 foot. And with regards to noise, again, that is essentially an atmospheric level of noise, especially along 19. This is not a very quiet area. This has about 8,000 cars per day on average that passes that site according to INDOT. So again, in a light industrially zoned parcel, this is one of the lowest impact developments that could be on that parcel.
So when you're talking about the chain link fence, and I believe you talked about a screen around that behind, is there any kind of camera monitoring that monitors the facility at all times for security purposes? I know there's lighting and stuff built in.
Yes, sir. So 24/7 cameras as well as microphones and speakers. So for instance, say there was an unauthorized person that was approaching the fence, we can hear what they're saying. We can also speak out to them, hey, back off, this is an electrified facility, you need to leave right now. We also obviously have that 24/7 video monitoring. It's also night vision. I believe we have infrared technology built in as well.
Okay. Who's responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of that screen and the fence and what have you, and any of the trees that should die? I mean, during the whole life cycle of this project.
Well, so ultimately, all the responsibility is IPA Powers. We would love to contract with a local landscaping business in order to do the actual work. That is not our field of study. But obviously the responsibility to make sure that it's kept beautiful as well as clear of debris and such, that responsibility relies on IPA.
Aaron, do we have any mechanism to govern that?
Well, that would be something that we would want to build in to
And it is currently built into the PD ordinance.
It is, okay.
Yes.
And all that would transfer in the event of a sale of IPA I know we're talking hypotheticals here, but all that would transfer, correct?
You could sell it 10 times and it would all be specific to this site and this project and be transferable each and every time.
Thank you.
I had a question about the fence, and since it came up. What's the purpose of the fence? Would we see the fence? And I'm talking about the chain link fence. What's the purpose? Would we see it? And is that mandated by some agency that there be a security fence?
Yes, so a security fence is mandated. The height, I believe, is part of the mandate, is approximately 7 foot. A chain link fence is not part of our aesthetic plan for this. So the fence serves for security purposes. The landscaping and our very significant buffers around the 360 degrees from the site, they serve the aesthetic purpose so that you don't have to look at a chain link fence.
Do you have any installations within 150 miles that have a similar aesthetic to this that could be viewed?
Not within 150 miles.
How far away is it? I'm willing to travel, that's why I asked.
I'd have to consult and see which of ours are subject to such stringent aesthetic reviews. Most of our facilities, I mean, really, we covered the gamut, frankly, whether they be in urban areas, right downtown in Los Angeles County, for instance, where they're 10 foot next to the other parcel. They could be out in the fields in Texas, or they could be in a roughly more suburban area. I don't know of any off the top of my head that I can point to and say this is just as a stringent aesthetic review as is being ascribed here in Cicero, and that's why we provided the visual renders.
Gotcha. I'm a visual person, and the visual renderings do help, but
Yeah.
seeing it in person is a whole different situation.
So are you aware of a contact, and it doesn't have to be of this size, but of these type of facilities around this area? Say
A contact, sir? Sorry?
A contact that has a list of, doesn't have to be from you, but of these battery systems, storage systems, say in Indiana?
Just like a list of any and all battery energy storage
That's
systems.
correct.
The Indiana Department of Homeland Security can issue you a list of everyone that holds a permit. And I'm happy to put you in contact with them, because I don't know what the mechanism is. I don't know if you submit an access to public records request or if you just email them. So I'm happy to circle up with Mr. Coleman and get that rolling as soon as tomorrow, that they maintain the database. I know for this year, they've issued permits for about 43, maybe in the last month, I think Aaron said.
Okay.
But they maintain the database for the state of Indiana.
Would you mind doing that? I'm curious
Yeah.
about, because I have a sneaking suspicion that there are many of these out there, maybe not of this size, but many of these battery energy storage systems sitting out there that people just don't even know about. And I'm kind of curious, and I'd like to go visit some and maybe have some additional discussions.
It's very possible. They're rather inconspicuous. It's very possible that they could be somewhere and no one would even know.
I mean, I've been told there's a few just right around here.
I'm sorry?
I've been told that there are a few smaller ones, of course, right around this area.
And a few others coming.
That I would never have known.
Sure,
So,
certainly.
and then I have a second question. So say there is a catastrophic issue, and I know this is, so call it a fire, whatever, and I mean, I know it depends on when, so you really don't know what the impact radius is of it.
Incorrect, sir. We can estimate from worst-case scenarios that have already occurred. I don't know if you're familiar with the Moss Landing fire that was out in California. That was pretty much exactly how you do not want to build a BESS facility. It was all under one roof. It was the legacy nickel, manganese, cobalt, those heavy metal batteries. And there was water testing, air testing, soil testing. That was all done by the California EPA. I know a few other incidents across the country have done the same thing, where they've monitored all of those items.
Let's go back to the one in California. What was that
Yes, sir.
evacuation area?
Well, the evacuation area there, from my understanding, was kind of a reaction because there was no real guidance at that time. So I believe that there was a thorough evacuation in that area. When we look at the recommendations from NFPA and also the EPA at the United States, the NFPA recommends an evacuation radius of 200 foot from the container, and the EPA recommends an evacuation radius of 330 feet. So again, The closest residence to this facility is 630 foot, and there would be no need to evacuate. And again, this would require constant communication with the chief and any mutual aid partners, and this would all be delineated in an emergency response plan that we come up with together.
So then, that leads to my next point. So if there was an evacuation required of homeowners, I mean, would IPA be willing to pay for those reasonable relocation fees for that period of time?
I imagine that insurance would cover those things during an incident, yes.
So going back to Moss Landing, I mean, even the air quality test they did on that, it was negligible as far as what they were able to pick
Well, what's
up,
most
right?
important is it never left the actual facility boundary, and I think that's really important to note, because that was, again, as I said, probably the worst way to design a facility. It was all indoors. I mean, think of a giant Home Depot all filled with batteries as opposed to partitions that are out on the ground. Again, it was that heavy metal legacy NMC battery electrolyte technology. Yes, there was air monitoring the entire time, to my understanding, and that danger area, I believe it was a radius of 130 feet. I'm going to have to go back and check the data to make sure I can provide that to you and provide that to your expert consultants, but it was important to note that it never left the facility.
I think I'm done with my questions for today. I'm sure we'll have additional after we talk to our experts.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're happy to provide any and all information to the experts. If they have questions, happy to provide them answers as well.
So as far as the grid benefit, I understand how that works with the releasing of energy and stabilizing rates and everything. And essentially, if I understood correctly in the Plan Commission meeting, that energy could essentially be transmitted anywhere along that grid line, correct?
So the energy from our facility that is injected into that 345 line, yes, so that serves, say for instance, the 345 kV line is owned by one of the local utilities, such as AES or Duke or maybe one of the co-ops or something like that. They are utilizing that for their distribution here in the area. So in no way is this now, sending power out to Chicago or New York or Miami or something.
Gotcha. Okay. So what about locally? I mean, is there any benefit in the immediate area as far as backup redundancy or anything in the event of a power outage? Could these serve as a backup generator essentially for the community?
Yeah, they absolutely could. And I think, obviously, we're thankful for all the work that our utilities put in, especially in this area, and to ensure that the grid is stable, that the distribution is stable. But I think even outside of those cataclysmic events, on just a day-to-day basis, there would not be any need to fire up additional plants. There would be cost savings from storing the already generated baseload energy and the ability to dispatch it at its peak. So there's not a constant demand of electricity throughout the day. Sometimes there's lulls, oftentimes when everyone's asleep. Oftentimes there are peaks as well, and that could be contributed to consumer demand. Everyone's home, everyone has the lights on, television, dishwasher, et cetera. And then that could also be peaks from manufacturing or, even just the Bex plant down the road or something like that. So that demand curve has peaks and valleys, and that's how the off-taker, the utility in this case, would be able to utilize our facility to get that power where it needs to go instantaneously.
So that power outage we just had, this would not help.
Well, correct. I mean, if the line's
So-
down the line.
Well, if a line to your home is severed, then obviously
doing
no
good.
amount of
So
redundancy
really,
can help.
From a backup standpoint, if the power plant on the river had a hiccup for whatever reason, this would bridge that gap for whatever. But it's more used for load management, I would say,
Yes.
not really battery backup.
It can be used like that, but again, that's not its primary use.
So, sorry, I said I was done, I'm not. One question, you mentioned the segment that you have to get approval, so within that segment?
Yes, sir.
The segment runs from the plant to where?
The plant on the east, so the Noblesville generating plant to the east, to the Hortonville substation to the west.
Hortonville?
And it's specifically the 345 kV line.
Now, when I asked you for the cut sheets on the batteries, you basically said with the continuing changing of technology, you'll always strive to use the most up-to-date technology, correct?
That's right. And obviously, there's long lead times for the procurement of the technology, so usually anywhere from 12, 18, 24 months in the case of a transformer, say, but usually around 12 to 18 months for the battery equipment itself.
Where do the batteries go once you decommission them?
So it will be our responsibility to recycle them, and we're collaborating with OEMs in order to define processes there, because there are a lot of different kinds of batteries. We are to recycle all of our AA and AAA batteries, for instance. That is pretty hard to regulate. This is much easier to regulate because we have exact knowledge of who owns these large-scale energy storage systems.
So is the technology set for this plan?
The technology is set in the sense that lithium iron phosphate and then all of the safety standards that we've discussed here.
The LIP technology is going to be?
LFP, yes, sir.
LFP.
Yes, sir.
So as new technologies come out, that's not applicable to this project, it'll be LFP?
This project will be LFP.
This isn't tied to any kind of federal or state incentive to make the project fiscally viable, right? That could potentially go away and...
So the only federal incentives that I'm aware of, well, I would say at least outside of those that are general for all businesses, outside of those that are general for all energy generation, were specifically tied in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that the president really spearheaded just this past year. And the administration identified energy storage as a critical part of American energy independence moving forward. So that's why they support this technology.
My last question, then I'll let anybody else take it or we'll close it down. If this was going into next to your house, what would you want to see from the site plan?
I would want to see appropriate setbacks. There are times and places to have very small setbacks. For instance, we have a project that is in an urban core in Los Angeles County. It's pretty darn difficult to find 600-foot setbacks in Los Angeles. In Michigan, I believe the state standard setback is 300 foot. I think that by us doubling that here, over doubling it to 630 foot to the closest residence, which again, it's in an industrial zone, but it's still a residence. I think that's important. I would look for that. I personally already have lithium iron phosphate batteries in my house for energy storage. I have a solar generator. It has its own use. It's a more portable version. If you're familiar with your Generacs, your natural gas-fired generators, it's just a generator that I can then move. For instance, we would need to get out of the house or something like that. So I have energized LFP batteries that sit about 8 foot from my headboard, I would say. Very comfortable with those. Would be very comfortable if a site was as selectively sited like ours, if there were multiple safety layers like ours, and if there was, frankly, the enforcement that is applicable to our project through IDHS, then I'd be very comfortable.
Well, anything you can come up with in the meantime as we work through this process that would help mitigate the impact on any of the surrounding residents, we'd love to hear it, and we'll continue to think of anything that we can come up with as well. So.
Absolutely. We look forward to working with the consultants, and I know there's a lot of folks in the crowd as well. Look forward to hearing if there are any questions, any comments, any desire to speak with me or any of our team. We're happy to speak with anyone and anyone, not just here tonight, but I'm happy to give you my business card that has my cell phone on it, and we can follow up if you'd like.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I don't.
No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much. Appreciate it. Okay. My agenda back. All right, moving on to miscellaneous. Eric, you want to spearhead that? Talk about semi and dump truck traffic through downtown.
Yeah, so Mr. Culp, was brought to our attention, and I know it's been brought up before, potentially limiting through traffic through town for semis and loaded dump trucks maybe. It's impacting our pavement that we've just spent a small fortune redoing portions of our downtown, and how do we protect our investment there? So, I mean, I think we see, and as you sit downtown, you see more and more of these coming through as 31 becomes limited access. So what do we need to do to move forward, to at least investigate? I mean, to me, I think the truck route, which was put into place as 281st Street to 276th Street, that's out by Vex. I mean, that's already a thoroughfare for semis and trucks. What would be the next steps that we need to take?
But we would want to identify the portion of our roads we don't want the trucks to be driving on, and we would want to set the threshold. Are we talking about trucks over 1 ton, 2 ton, 10 ton, whatever that's going to be? And then we'd also want to designate, we'd want to be able to refer them to an acceptable route for them to get. If we're going to block off the east-west path, we would need to be able to say where they're going to go. And I think you've already touched on that vis-a-vis the route through Bex.
Are there distance limits for that route?
No, not that I'm aware of. I would have to double check, but I think it's mainly if we find there's a compelling reason, and then we could adopt an ordinance. You know, and one of the parts of documenting that it's a compelling reason would be talking with our engineer, as well as Mr. Cooper from our street department, and perhaps, I can't remember, are you our street commissioner, Terry? Or Terry Gill? You're designated the street commissioner too. Yeah, and so having Terry certify about the damage, and then we would designate that they need to take an alternative route. But that would basically be going through that process and adopting an ordinance and then posting the signage.
Mr. Culp, could we, I assume, but we could make exceptions for things like local deliveries?
Yeah, you would have to let the locals, because obviously there'd be
Right.
somewhere that the only way the truck can get to a site along that corridor.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you be able to see maybe what some other municipalities have in terms of where they've set that weight limit?
Yes.
So Chief Rittenhour, I'm assuming that means you have to get scales?
Well, a lot of these larger trucks have to be certified in terms of how much the load is they can carry, and then what the type of truck is. For example, you'll see the license plates sometimes are tied to the weight of the vehicle. And so some of that you can tie on to that, because the truck itself is going to be in excess of the limit, whether it's loaded or not.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking some of these dump trucks that are loaded as well that come through.
Yeah. Yeah, I can come back at the next meeting and report back to you on this, or I can send out an email with an update before then.
Thank you. I've just noticed the traffic has been, there's more coming through town, and the funds that we have spent trying to make it look nice is concerning. And I know it was brought up previously by previous councils as well. All right, thank you for that. Any comments by citizens?
Yep, moving along, comments by citizens. All right, we are going to cap these at 2 minutes in relation to the BEST project. We're happy to answer any questions or have a discussion, but as far as a canned response, we are going to roll with a typical 2 minutes. No, you're out there, Kimberly. You're up. You were the first one to turn the sheet in.
Oh, well, okay. Kimberly Chance, 3161 East 246th Street. I'm actually not going to address the bus facility tonight. I've asked some questions at the meeting at White River Township and that sort of thing, so have tons more questions that I could ask, but I can chat with you all later. I did want to bring up 2 points and then offer a suggestion for the planning board and perhaps the town council as well, and I know some of you are on both. First of all, people obviously don't get to choose when their area becomes redesignated on the comprehensive plan to light industrial, as well as we do not get to participate in the election of any of you on this board. So our only recourse is actually written or spoken comments. I know at the January 14th planning board meeting, there was a suggestion that Mr. Culp made that the emails be limited to being part of the record, but not necessarily read out loud. And I do understand that you all have an issue because some of the emails go lengthy, and we've all sat at a lot of these meetings. Based on what has happened tonight, I have a feeling that the community is going to want to say a lot at some of the projects that may be coming up. And so my suggestion is, I looked it up, and actually the average person speaks 110 to 170 words per minute. I know that there are sites that can limit a word limit when you type things in. You can fill out a form and you're limited to 1,000 words or 500 words or something like that. And I would strongly suggest that you might limit the word per minute to 340, which is at the upper end of that, just to give preference to the community that is already at a disadvantage of the time limit that they get compared to the petitioner. And Frank's a pretty quick reader, I think. So, but that may just help solve that issue, but still give the community the opportunity to participate the only way that we can, because we are limited in Jackson Township. And so that is my suggestion strongly to you all. I do understand and appreciate the issue that we've all been dealing with. And
so there has been conversation that and I'm bringing this up because I just went through this in another district actually, where they won't be read anymore. So the letters will not be read. There will be a deadline that they have to be received so that every member, whether it's the BZA, the planning, whatever board, for a submitted letter, that they have the ability, the time to read all of those. And I personally just went through this. So I sent a letter in another district to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and they said it had to be there X number of days before the hearing, and that they would put it in a packet and send it to each voting member.
And I appreciate that, and I understand that. But in those districts, did every person who participated and was being affected by decisions get to vote in or out members that they might not agree with? Because we're in a unique situation in Jackson Township.
It's exactly the same in that district, honestly. So
it's a suggestion.
It's in Kosciuszko County. It's the exact situation.
I appreciate that, Eric. I'm just suggesting it as a community member. I'm asking, and I'm trying to appreciate the problem that you have, but I'm also asking you to continue to give us a voice, because we don't feel like we have much of a voice, and when you don't abide by the comprehensive plan, then we have to come to these meetings, and sometimes you all aren't at meetings because life gets in the way, right? Sometimes we can't be, and we just like to be able to still participate in a meaningful way. That camera is on, people can watch if they're not here, and if the letters are read, then anyone in Jackson Township who cannot vote for you and who are very limited because the comprehensive plan can be changed at any point in time, I'm just asking you to preserve the right for Jackson Township community members to still be able to participate in a meaningful way. And you can choose to do it that way. I'm not saying you can't, and other people don't. But I think y'all are better than that, and I'm hoping that you guys would just offer that respect to our...
I want to make sure I understand what you're asking.
Yeah.
So you're saying 340 words?
Yeah, that's
Is that
about
what
2
you're
minutes.
suggesting?
Right, that's
Okay.
2 minutes, right? So if the limit is 2 minutes,
To just limit it by the number of words.
Correct. Then somebody writes a letter, Frank reads it, and you get a 2-minute letter, and it's read out loud publicly, just like anyone who showed up at the meeting. That's all I'm asking. It does eliminate the 10-minute or 15-minute emails, right? I'm trying to appreciate the problems that, face you too, and just asking for that. That was just my suggestion.
Well, thank you for, you have phone numbers, and I hope you feel like we support you. I would almost rather have a written email that I can help parse through, because it's hard to get your point across and get all the key points across in 340 letters. So for me personally, not sitting up here, but if I'm sitting out there, just like I was, I would prefer to provide the email with my keys to the message and read.
So here's another suggestion then, if that's what you choose to go with, and I apologize, I'm taking more time, but I am trying to.
I turned your timer off.
Sorry, I am trying to address an issue. But because the alternative to that is if you all receive emails ahead of time where you have an opportunity to read them, is there a mechanism that could be put in place where the community can read those emails ahead of time as well? So that we also, again, I'm just trying to preserve the ability for the community to be able to meaningfully participate in the only way that we can. And we'd like to be able to hear. And that would be fine too. Just somehow, it needs to be available so that we do not lose our voice, where it's not recorded, it's not spoken, and all we get is a hidden email that you all alone read that we can't vote for.
So Aaron, is that acceptable? We read them. Would it be acceptable to make those?
Yeah, we could certainly, when we put together that packet, because I think what the Plan Commission was contemplating was a cutoff on the Monday when their meeting is that Wednesday. That packet, in addition to being sent out to Plan Commission, could be posted on the website along with the meeting. And in addition, even before that, they become part of the records and the minutes of those meetings. So those are getting attached to the packets that go out the next month summarizing everything. And the entirety of those letters gets incorporated.
So Kimberly, I think that's a good suggestion. And if somebody doesn't want it to be read publicly, I guess they would have to note that on their email.
Are we running the same issue that you were talking about last meeting with redacting personal information if we do that?
I was talking specifically about the applications.
Okay.
I think we need to look
something we can work on.
Yeah, I think we need to look into it. I think that's a good idea, Kimberly.
If they were available for public record, would they need to be read?
No, we're not planning on reading any.
Okay,
They will be provided to.
I was in agreement with that, yeah.
To be clear, he means reading aloud. They all get read by us. Oh.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good suggestion.
Thank you. Hans? You here? Oh, there you are.
You get her 27 seconds that are remaining.
Thank you.
I'm just joking.
Ponce Ferrero, 652 Cora Court. My subject tonight is the snow removal. We all know that we got a lot of snow. I live in the first cul-de-sac here in the neighborhood, Cora Court. And for years, what our street department does, I don't know if it's all cul-de-sacs, but my particular cul-de-sac where I live, is they come through, push the snow in, and then push all the snow in my front lawn for the most part. This last snow, with large amount of snow, is they push not only in my front lawn, but also the neighbor across the street's front lawn, and it stacked it way up high. Over the years, they've damaged my front lawn every winter, and I repaired it. This past snowfall, and all snowfalls, I plow that cul-de-sac myself. And I plow it up and down the streets whenever I wake up and I do my driveway and so forth. So if I push the snow in my cul-de-sac, I actually stop at the curb and raise the plow and slowly raise it up and then push it up on my grass. If not, I come through, push it out, and drag it out. with so much snow and my particular cul-de-sac, I don't know if we need to remove the snow rather than pushing it up on my lawn, because every year I cover the cost damage on my front lawn. This past large snowfall and the previous one, the snowplow really damaged my front lawn, so I'm going to ask the street department to repair my front lawn. But with that said, I'm sure we have plenty of equipment, and especially with large snowfalls, I don't know if we can remove the snow rather than pushing it up on our front lawns, which is causing damage. And it's not every other year, it's every year. And our crews do a great job throughout town, but my lawn is damaged every year, and I never asked the town to give me a single penny. I've always repaired it myself. But this time, they damaged it really bad, so I'm going to ask the town to help fix my front lawn. So if we can have some other snow plan or add to the snow plan and remove larger amount of snow rather than pushing it in front of everybody's lawn, because as you know, I'm sure you got big mounds in front of your house and your grass. There's not really much where to push it at when you have that large amount of snow. Thank you.
Our apologies for the collateral damage. What would be the process? I don't even know this process. As far as...
So, Mr. Cooper, can you look at the damage to his yard and see what we need to do there? And then, I guess, in that particular cul-de-sac, see what options there are. I don't know that there are options. Unfortunately, I don't think within a reasonable amount of time that we're able to, every cul-de-sac around town, haul snow out of it. I don't think that's a reasonable request of our guys. They're working all night long. It's a limited staff trying to get the roads in shape for everybody to go through. I think what we can commit to is Terry can look at the damage, see if there's something we can do there, and see if there are other options. Thanks for the feedback.
All right. Kim Urban? I know you're out there somewhere. There you are.
Hi, Kim Irvin, 2801 Cumberland Road. Again, I'm just here to talk about the BEST project, but, you know, listening to what they were saying and everything, it's really, I guess my biggest issue is I don't trust the company, and I've listened to every single time they've been here to talk to you guys, not just you guys, but the before, and I was also at every single time that they talked over at Overdorf as well. And every time, something changes. And so, just like tonight, they were talking about the SolBank 3.0 batteries, and, you know, that the decibel levels are only, I forget what they said, I think it was like around 75 or something, but the more you add, the higher it gets. If you do a quick AI search, it's 98.2 decibels is what it would be for 210 units, which is what they're saying. That's the actual, a gas power lawnmower or motorcycle or snowmobile running constantly. If you live somewhat near there, and it's in the country, I don't know if you know this, sounds travel really quickly through the country. I live within a mile of this. I'm really concerned about it. The other thing too is the SolBank 3.0 batteries. Just look into them when you guys are researching it, because they have ethyl glycol in it, which is really highly toxic. They also carry lead in them. So those are some other things that as they were talking, I kind of made notes and looked into it tonight that kind of concerned me. So I ask you guys, remember, you're in charge here. You make these rules. There are no state regulations on this. So hopefully you guys make a good choice.
You heard our discussion about the 55 decibels at the property line. That would be part of the PD if it's approved?
I did.
You're still concerned that we would allow it to be 90?
Well, it's saying it's going to be around 90.
Well, what's saying?
Every time when I did a
AI is saying 90?
When I did a research and asked Google, I just asked Google just out of quick thing, what is the average decibel of a SolBank 3.0 battery? and it came back that it was around 75. But every time you add additional batteries to it, it continues to raise your decibel, is what it said. So as I'm looking at it, and it continues to raise it, depending on how many you have. So then I just said, Google, 210 Solbank 3.0 batteries. What is the decibel of it? And it gave me the 92, which, and then I said 92.4 actually, and then I Googled what is 92.4 decibels, and that's where it came up to a snowmobile or whatever. I'm just saying there are some concerns.
I guess, I think it would be a concern if we had a PD in front of us that said we would allow 92 decibels at the property line, but that's not what we're talking about.
All I'm saying is I'm presenting information to you that was presented tonight in a situation of them talking to you, and I'm calling it to the table that, again, there are things that are stated from this company that I don't trust. And so I'm asking you guys as a board to take everything in to play here on what you're thinking, because what they're saying is not necessarily what they're portraying when you really do the research. And that's the reason why I spoke, because I don't trust this company. I'm not against battery storage facilities. Right now, I'm against this company.
Okay. And actually, what you referenced right there with that 75 dBA on the Solbank was what I realize where I got that figure, what I was asking about initially. I think what Jacob's trying to say is, yeah, it does produce that within 1 meter, but the regulations at the required setback wouldn't be that, but we absolutely will take that into account. So.
I think you heard my questions about noise. I mean, my quick search doesn't say it's at that level, but so that's why you have to parse what you get online. So we need to get with experts and find out what the real data is, look at data sheets, see what those data sheets are, and do our homework. I completely agree. Just be careful what you see online, because what I see is at 10 meters, it's 35 to 50 dB.
For how many units?
Well, that's for one. You said one was 75, right?
Right.
So I haven't seen the data sheet
I
either.
said one was 75. I didn't say within the meter. I just said that's what it was saying that it gave out, and that's what they said to me.
Okay, all right. So just be careful with the information. The noise is absolutely one of my concerns.
Same.
So we will.
Well, and I'm just bringing to light, it's not just the noise, it's also the batteries. Like they were saying, a Solbank 3.0 battery, it's only been in existence, it actually was only approved in 2025. And I don't know, I worry about the safety of the community, because when you look at things that are brand new, there's no research behind it. We don't know what it can cause, and it just worries me. I mean, people live here in the country for a reason.
It's a valid concern, 100%. So, thank you, Kim. Alicia? Oh, no. Uh-oh, Mom's talking too.
Mom's talking too,
All
yep.
right.
Alicia Kioski, 8203 East 249th Street, Arcadia. So I like to sit in these and kind of come up and play devil's advocate, right? You got to approach questions from all different sides. IPA was founded in 2017. So my question, or one of the things I pose is, we're talking about decommission plans with these after 30 years. IPA hasn't been around 30 years. So how are we formulating a hypothetical decommission plan? Because we don't actually know in 30 years what this looks like. So when we have to sit and we have to come up with numbers, we have to do all of this, we don't know how necessarily the technology is going to age in 30 years, what site, all these other things, we're locking ourselves into that up front. So noise, obviously lots of concerns about noise. I would be curious on the noise specs that are presented. In the hypothetical situation that they are too high, what happens? At that point, the site's already built. So what do you do? Yes, you're in violation of it, but what's the enforcement of that violation? Can the technology be changed? From the town's perspective, what can you do if that actually happens? Because things happen, and once it's already built, then how do you fix it?
Can we see if he can answer that question
Sure.
real quick?
Yeah, if they are in violation of those, we can issue a notice that requires them to make corrections. If they fail to make those corrections, we can then begin imposing penalties. We can even go into court and get an order that they cease until they comply. And depending on what's required to fix that, that could be, if there aren't berms, a berm be built or something else be installed to ensure that it meets the sound requirements.
And you could even hold a certificate of occupancy, right, if they were known up
Yeah.
front, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of enforcement options if we ever got
So
there.
making sure that that's something that we've adequately taken into effect. Likewise, there was some comment about natural disasters and, the comment of they weigh 93 or 94,000 pounds and they're bolted into concrete, which is all well and great. But what happens? Like, we can get tornadoes through here. Do we have quantifiable data of how strong winds can those things withhold? What's their crash rating if they do go airborne and they hit? Is that all data that all the different specialties or environmental and all these people that we are obtaining can give us that information? Is that specs that need to come from them? But I think that's important. We need to plan for that worst case scenario, because once it happens, then what? I mean, the town is now at risk, the people are now at risk, and we need to know what we're going into when we're going into that situation. So, and then lastly, my question would be from the board's perspective, all of the information that you receive from the experts that you are retaining, how is that information, or will it be made available to the public to be able to review and ask questions and follow up? Because obviously, lots of minds put together come up with different questions. Is that information planning on being made available, and in what avenue will that happen?
I have no issue making it available. Is there an avenue we have to follow?
No, it's up to the council what we want to have presented. My vision for this was that they would actually come to a meeting and make a presentation and answer your questions where the public could actually hear what they were saying.
That would be ideal.
If they issue a report or something, I would certainly be
written.
fine with, that being publicly available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I want to make one comment on
Yeah.
your decommissioning. I think that's a really important point. The point of not only having the decommissioning plan, but having the financial surety is absolutely critical, right? So that's the whole point of that, is that it's a lot of times it's done through a bond, but there is some financial surety that if IPA goes away tomorrow and it costs $5 million to pull everything out of the ground or whatever, that we as the council have that financial mechanism to pull on that is separate from the existence of these guys. So again, I totally agree with you. That has to be in there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Diana Dale. Just please state your name and address.
Diana Dale, 121 Tamarack Larch Boulevard, Cicero. Thank you, board here. I emailed the board on January 16th, and thank you for taking my email into consideration. I've heard a lot of things in my email here today. Special use. This highly volatile lithium battery on top of a Marathon gas line running under this property is a hard no for this project's special use.
Can I jump in real quick there? Mr. Johnson, you want to comment on that?
Yes, I will. Hold on just a second. I have reached out to Marathon, and I'm going to read a part of the response. It says, according to those plans, which they received, asbestos plans on the facility, are currently designed with the setback of 100 feet from our pipeline that runs through the parcel. This suffices any concerns that Marathon Pipeline would have regarding the type of facility near our pipeline. They took into consideration the technology of the fire, the burn rate, the temperatures, the fact that they're put on concrete pads and bolted down. And they took it up to the corporate office to come back and give me an answer. But their answer was, we're good with the 100 feet. It poses no concern with the pipeline.
And does this include the 25% expansion that they are also requesting?
The 25 what?
Percent expansion that APA is requesting?
That's coming out of the PD.
Yeah, it's not going to be in there.
Okay.
That was, if I remember correctly from Plan Commission meeting, that was just a template item, right? Okay.
Yeah, it was removed.
Okay, thank you. obsolete technology. As of today, best battery storage facilities are obsolete, so let's do the research. Maintaining this obsolete technology is concerning because maintaining a 15-year-old truck, you have a hard time finding parts. How are they going to get parts for something that's already obsolete? What would end-of-life cleanup cost? And not in 30 years, today's dollars. Who's paying for that? They could abandon this site and leave us with cleanup. Noise pollution, which has been gone over extensively here tonight. Let's get this assessed with the research. APA said that they would provide decibel samples, so let's get on a field, take a field trip, and let's listen to it for ourselves, because hearing noise on paper is not the same as going there live and hearing it. A 48-inch lawnmower has a decibel of 70. The neighboring farm is closer than APA is stating, so let's do the research there as well and get accurate decibels. I live 1 mile from the reservoir, and I can hear boats on the water, music at the boathouse. Noise travels much further in Cicero because it's very windy and it's very open. My grill has to be anchored down with hurricane anchors, so that tells you how windy it is here. If we can research the fire department hazmat, the Department of Homeland Security is requiring, the requirements are changing every day for fire stations to handle lithium battery storage facilities. And as a startup cost, it's $4 million to build that fire station, $2 million a year to operate. Who will be funding this? The Cicero Fire Department is not equipped to handle this project. Training is not going to cut it or keep our firefighters safe. Evacuation is 2 to 5 miles, not 300 feet. And as windy as it is in Cicero, probably more. Another concern, State Route 19 is an evacuation route. A fire at this facility would pose issues on evacuating the community. Also, take into consideration the AF Ingerman drain. In September 7, 2022, the drain is in poor condition and in need of reconstruction per Hamilton County Surveyor's Office. So let's look into that drain as well.
It's almost done.
Okay. Can we get current water testing for the city for 2025? The website didn't have the 2025 water testing.
Terry, are you still here? Has it been released? Okay. What's the purpose of that?
Just to get a baseline of our water.
Okay.
So that we know.
We do that every year, Terry?
Yeah.
Mhm.
By June, by the time we get all the lab work in, so if you can't do your lab work, there's a lag.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for letting me
Were you
speak
at the Plan
today.
Commission meeting?
Yes. Well, I wasn't here physically, but I sat through 4.5 grueling hours of watching it.
So you heard our fire chief say he didn't have any concerns with his ability to manage?
I did hear a firefighter say that this is not something that is safe for our firefighters, and they are part of our community. And that's really concerning, since the Department of Homeland Security is now requiring special fire departments. So let's do our research and find out what the Department of Homeland Security is requesting for any city that has a BESS battery storage facility, so that we're not stuck with a $4 million bill or $2 million to run this fire station, because Jackson Township's not going to be able to be liable for that.
So the intent of us contracting with outside firms is to collect this information and make sure it's not just by our research. We do want to engage the experts and make sure we do get vetted information. So we are in the process of doing that.
Thank you.
And one of our experts is our fire chief.
Yeah, he did speak at the Plan Commission in that regard as well. So Chris, do you want to, are you here? I thought I saw you earlier.
He's back there.
Do you want to make any comment at this point?
No, we just did our due diligence. We've been working with the information they provided and kind of going through this with kind of from a hazmat standpoint and fire standpoint, just to kind of get a response objective. It's no different than a test fire, car fire, battery fire, We know how to do it, we know how to separate them. The whole point of the battery fire is that through trial and error, and like a lot of people talk about making mistakes and fire response, the key to it is to isolate it and let it, that's the best course of action. So we're not doing anything overly, we're not adding anything that's going to be a large-scale hazard issue for us. This is going to be a standard fire. We have a building car fire in a house or in the garage burning, or the wall battery. A lot of those popping up. It's the same type of fire. We understand how to deal with it. The goal is to de-energize it, and the goal is to let it burn as that happens. All the designs I've seen, they're designed to burn up, so the goal is to put all the products in the going out. I actually have asked for, and that they've given to me, I've seen it, but I haven't got a copy of it, but just the products of combustion are actually, so we get percentages of what's in the smoke of the battery. So we actually put a footprint together, twin samples, so we could show you like how far would the evacuation be if one was burning. So we could actually do that modeling and just wait for the information.
And I'd like to add to that, I'm the fire department liaison, and the first thing I did was go to the fire department and say, what do you guys think? And I was really surprised that 4 or 5 of them said, you know, it's much safer than what you think. So I did reach out to them, and I also reached out to ask about training, and not only training for the fire departments locally, but updated training at least once a year, and they said they would be willing to fund that, and they would be willing to do updated training because personnel changes.
Okay, and is that going to include Noblesville's fire station? Because in the last meeting, that wasn't included, that they were notified, because they respond to my neighborhood a lot, and they're right down the street from this site, so, you know, they need to have
It would be all the local ones, because I did ask that as well. They want anyone who would be responding to know, you don't shoot water at these type of fires.
Right,
What
they
do
have
you
to
need
burn.
do? And that was my concern too, because staff, you know, things happen and people are gone and staff changes. So it's important to have a plan in place that everyone's educated at least once a year, so the new members won't rush in and do something that they shouldn't.
And you guys will always be involved in that annual training, correct?
I just don't want Cicero to become a cancer cluster. I don't want Ms. Brockovich to have to come here to our community. That doesn't look good on us. You know, and we need to find out the decibels before they build. Not, oh, wait, it's really noisy, you're going to get a fine. No fines. Let's find out what a battery station sounds like. Let's go to California, where it burned. Let's find out what their evacuation zone was. What's their evacuation plan? What's their cancer cluster looking like? There's a lot of concerns for the city of Cicero, and there's a lot of money concerns about the impact that we're not going to be making any money off of this coming into our community. Well, you might, but the city in whole will not.
Excuse me? What are you implying?
I'm sorry?
I think your time's up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
So just to take a second back, I mean, you implied that he might make money off of this. That's a ridiculous statement. We're all sitting up here trying to do the best for our community and work with what we have. So comments like that are absolutely ridiculous. If that was the intention of that comment, maybe we misunderstood.
But to your point, we are doing our necessary due diligence in this. It's a new type project for us. We've never seen anything like this. We're going to take every step necessary to make sure we have that information. So, Kim?
Mike's got to have a seat. Kim Alexander, 24592 Point Lane. I just have a few questions, just out of curiosity. Who are the beneficiaries of this project? I'm still trying to figure out who wins.
Well, we are too.
Okay. Does the board, I mean, as you guys look at it, who do you think the beneficiaries are?
Well, as we look at it now, I think we're trying to figure out if it's mutually beneficial.
Is that me or you?
I think it was a paperclip.
Oh, okay, never mind. I think we're trying to figure out if it's mutually beneficial and how it is beneficial to the town, whether that be financial or utility related, what have you.
Okay. So we haven't identified yet the benefit. We're
No, we're
working on
working
that?
through that, yeah.
Okay.
Well, real quick, though, I mean, the power grid is a beneficiary, right? So theoretically, you don't have to start on those high demand, and I don't know if I'm for it or against it. I am an electrical engineer by trade. The power grid is the beneficiary of this, so instead of starting an additional generator, which costs all of us money, this facility is able to leave that off and level those out. So store when use is low and put back when use is high. I mean, that's the benefit of this is it helps sustain a level or load managing at the power plants. That's the benefit of these systems.
Well, and I appreciate that. I know Mr. Everett has, I've read several of your articles, and one of the things you comment in one of your articles is a project that helps keep the cost of electricity down will have some beneficiaries nearby, but the majority will be residents across the region who live in different jurisdictions. And I think you're right.
Yeah.
Locals aren't necessarily going to benefit from this. It's a 14-state region.
So
I know.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So does that mean in order to improve the grid, we should just make that somebody else's problem? We don't have a role here?
I don't think I need to take on a problem, or you need to take on a
So
problem.
nobody takes it on and the grid never gets improved? I mean, that's the answer.
Or you put these things in industrial locations.
This is
that are-
industrial. It's
Well, that are
non-
already set with boundaries, with fences. I mean, if you look at Pike County, you look at where some of these others have gone, it's not in a field. So who benefits? What is the benefit? And to your article's point, it's not the locals. And
I just
how
completely
specific?
disagree with your premise that we in this country have a major problem with our grid.
I'm
And if
just
our
quoting-
solution in Jackson Township is we're not going to participate in improving the grid across this country, that's a pretty short-sighted view. That
Well,
we're
I'm
gonna make
just
it somebody
quoting your
else's problem.
article. I'm just quoting you. You
Okay,
said
so we
that,
should only do things here that benefit specifically us and forget about our neighbors.
are we the ones taking on the health risk if something goes wrong?
What health risk?
You tell me.
That's
What
why we're doing our
benefit?
due diligence.
What benefit is there? I guess,
If we're
My
going to sit here
question-
today and say we don't collectively benefit from an improved grid, that's crazy.
well, you said we don't benefit in local
I said locals
jurisdictions.
do, and you're also taking my article a little bit out of context.
I got a
The point of
picture
the
of it.
article, I know you do, I know what I wrote.
Okay.
There are thousands of people that don't know they would benefit from this, so they're not here tonight. That's the point of the article that you've taken out of context.
I just
They're
read your
not here because-
sentence. And I know your job is to advocate for companies who come in and work with public
My
and
job
private
is to make the best
sectors.
decision for Cicero and not make decisions
I'm just
based
saying
on fear.
I'm saying
I'm not
professionally.
sitting here professionally, I'm sitting here as a citizen
Okay.
of Cicero.
But as I read your professional writing, I'm understanding where you're coming from. So I'm just trying to say, how specifically, if there is a benefit locally for the risk locally, what is it, who gets it, and how specifically would we receive it?
And I completely appreciate your statement, we're not at a point we can answer it.
Yeah, but these are just questions I think that are valuable
Sure.
for us to think about. And then also, how does the board intend to determine the needs and opinions of the community?
What do you mean?
Well, as a board makes decisions, as you look at criteria for your decisions, I understand fact-based decisions are important, but you're also representatives of your community. So how do you intend to determine the needs and opinions?
I'm not sure I understand what you're
So
asking.
this is a portion of the community.
Okay.
I will tell you that I've had multiple people reach out to me and say that they are in favor of it. Now,
I have too.
Now, there are a few that are probably within that industry. So we were at a council meeting after the Overdorf one was shut down, and a lady came up to me, and and said she was for it, she doesn't understand it. However, I discount that part a little bit because her family was part of that industry. But I've had many others, not many, I've had several people communicate with me that, hey, this sounds like the right thing to do for Cicero. So the people that argue against it are a portion of the information that we take in, but we also get information from others that they won't show up here. They don't want to waste their time, right?
Yeah.
But we also have to vet that information. A lot of the information being floated out there is based on old technology, and
Yeah.
it's not accurate. And there's a lot of fear-mongering going on, too.
I-
Now, we are getting people in support of this. They don't post publicly for fear of persecution, because, as you've seen, it can get pretty nasty. But, no, we are doing everything we can. I
Yeah.
mean, we're putting more due diligence into this
I
than
know you are.
anything we have
And
ever done before.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
You
It's
know?
just looking at what's the benefit and who's getting it.
Sure.
If you're taking on the risk, are you getting the benefit?
Absolutely. Mike?
Mike Alexander, 24592 Point Lane. Two really quick things. One, I was at the July meeting where the project was turned down. One of the topics that was brought up was the pond that was going to be on site, and there was discussion about what if there's a leak, they had to put fire on it, what happens if there's any contamination that goes into the pond. And the question was brought up, is there a lining in the pond, anything that would prevent that contamination from leaching into the aquifers and going down into the water systems?
From the Plan Commission meeting, I believe it was stated that pond is lined and also has a gate.
That
on it,
was
correct?
the point I was trying to make,
Okay.
was that this seems to be kind of an evolving process. They learned from the last one that, hey, now I have to line the pond, so now we're lining the pond, so it's like, what's the next obstacle that has to be overcome to make things right? So that's all on that. Second topic, I know the community is very proud of the train. I know our family's rented the caboose for the holidays and had a lot of fun riding up and down the train. Train is elevated. If you're sitting in one of the seats of that train, an 8 or a 10-foot tree isn't going to block the view of your project. So how long are we going to put a new stop on the train that says, hey, here's the battery plant? Maybe we could decorate all those evergreen trees. So it's nice that you're proposing 10-footers, but it's not big enough. It won't block the view of the train. So anyway, that's just, we're proud of the train. Everybody enjoys it. That's not going to be a pleasant stop on the tour. So that's it.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else?
Any last comments?
If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Emily Pearson.
Second, Dennis Johnson.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all. Most of you.